What's up, Bean Nation listeners? It's Brendan Butterbean Queen coming back at you with my boy, Chris Rice.
Boy, it's been a long time since I've been called a boy.
I'm
51 years old. I'm an old man.
We need you, though. But we're here at Kaulig Racing's headquarters. This one's going to be a good show. So, CEO of Kaulig Racing. How does that sound?
That sounds good. But, when I got that, you were with me when we got that that piece of paper, and Matt and Tim and all the guys did that for me. I had to go back and look up, what did a CEO do? Right? Like, what do they do for a living? Yeah. Not for a living. What do they do? And real quick, once I got that title, I figured out real quick what they do. So, and it's a lot.
Yeah, did it change what you were already doing?
It didn't change what I was already doing, just add it to it. And, people probably respect you a little bit more when you have the title CEO. It's one of those things that's surreal. Like, I come from South Boston, Virginia, actually Cluster Springs, Virginia. And to be a CEO of a company this big and have a lot of people around me like I have, it was just surreal.
Yeah, you mentioned coming from South Boston, Virginia, which is kind of where I wanted to start this. So obviously I drive for Kaulig Racing now. Chris Rice is considered one of my bosses. So that's, pretty cool to be here. We're taking it back to South Boston. That's where you started. In that area, we come from the same type of background, but I think, for the Bean Nation listeners, I kind of wanted to start this with, like, where did Chris Rice start? What was that like? Take me back to before you're in the NASCAR spotlight. I know you've always been around race cars, family built race cars, stuff like that. But, I want you to really give our listeners some insight behind the scenes of, like, where it started. I know, I did some research before this, obviously, and I'm gonna get into it.
Were you laying in bed when you did the research?
No, I was at my desk.
Good.
Like a professional. I'm a changed man now. But I think it was cool, seeing all the success you had with Elliott Sadler in the late model days and stuff. So, which I got a fact about that I'm gonna bring up in a minute. But go ahead and tell us, how did it start? Like, what made you get into it besides your family? Like, take us from there.
Well, I love probably the listeners that you have. Hopefully we can gain.
They're late model.
They're late model guys and girls.
So
I love that. I started, man, with my mom and dad. My Uncle Earl, my late Uncle Earl, was a racer. He was a driver, and my dad was a crew chief. And I was young, and I wanted to be in a professional sport. Like, I seen this. I learned how to weld when I was 9 years old. They built a jig at my dad's shop, and he didn't even put me on a stick welder. I had a MIG weld right off the rip. And, I worked with my hands. And then my dad and uncle worked on Jeff Burton's cars, like worked with the Burtons through the late model days. And our first year in the Busch Series in 1989, I traveled to every single race and went to school in 1989. Now, I never got paid for any of this. I'll let you know when I started getting paid. And I was 14 years old. I turned 15 years old. My favorite story to talk about, Darrell Waltrip was my favorite. And my mom, for my birthday, and it's amazing, I remember, she went and got a hero card and got Darrell Waltrip to sign it. Happy birthday to Chris. And I wish I could find that card today.
Oh, so you can show him now.
I can show him now because we're friends now. It's surreal when he calls me. And but anyway, so I did that. I gassed a car in 1989. I traveled the series and then went to the Sadlers. My dad and uncle started their business, A&E Race Cars. For all you listeners out there, it's now it's R&S Race Cars. And so I went with the Sadlers, and I went to college. I got my college degree, believe it or not.
Okay, you did. What was that?
So I was headed towards mechanical engineering, but my mind didn't let me. So I got my machinist degree, so I could write programs. I can do anything machinist wise. It was at Danville Community College, and I loved it.
I would have never known. Like, I didn't know that because I went from mechanical at ODU. So
I wanted to finish that, but it was so much time, and I wanted to go racing.
For sure. I get that.
I was like, I gotta go. So when I finished my 2.5 years at Danville, I moved to Emporia, Virginia, and I worked for Elliott Sadler. I had helped Hermie Sadler throughout from 1990 through 1993. And we won the Rookie of the Year. I was traveling and going to school, like doing all of this. And then I wanted to be a crew chief, and it come available. Elliott I could be a crew chief right out of college. We had no idea what we were doing. I look back on some of the things. Somebody posted some from Southside the other day, and Elliott talking about us up there. So we won a lot of races. He put me on the map. Elliott Sadler, I gotta say that a lot because he did. We were so good together as a group.
Yeah.
And then I just then you think you're smarter than the world, and I've done some other things which didn't work out. I drove because I thought I needed to know what a race car felt like.
Okay, that's where I wanted to stop for a second. Was you did drive? Because one of my questions for today was, did you drive? Which I am glad you did because it makes you respect all. Like when you go back, or I always said when I drove and then worked on it, it makes you better, right? Because you know what the driver's saying. But like, how do you come to terms with that decision of not wanting to be a driver and be a crew chief? Because I know, as a driver, that's hard because once you drive, you're like, this is awesome. Yeah. And it's hard to give that up and go on the other side. But it's people like you that do that make the driver look good. And I say it all the time, like, y'all need to interview the guys behind me. Yeah. I'm just a lucky one. So talk me through that a little bit. First off, how old were you when you drove? And then, or roughly around this time when you're with Elliott, but like, what made the decision? All right, I'm not going to drive. I'm just going to work on them.
Well, I was 310 pounds, something like that. Yeah. And that's a big guy to go drive, right? And another thing is all the money I made with the Sadlers I saved up, but I'm spending it trying to keep up, with the Joneses and trying to race good. And I'll tell you, my dad and uncle built me really good mini stocks. I raced mini stocks and I raced those late model trucks, which was just like a late model. Super fast, and I won a lot of races
at South Boston.
Yep. New River. I raced there.
Oh, you did race? Coastal Plains, Goodyear, New River, whatever it's called.
I raced there.
That's a cool place.
And I drove some at Orange County. Never raced there.
Yeah,
I drove at Wake County with the guy Ryan Gray. So I drove at a lot of different racetracks. I wish we had pictures, but when you in the lower series, you don't take a lot of pictures.
No,
you just don't. So I posted.
You don't
a
have time or money.
You don't have time or money. You can't do it.
Just try to race.
So we probably won over 60% of the races we entered.
You did driving?
Yeah, I did driving.
That is cool.
Which was cool. But my dad's cars were so good. Like my dad put a lot of effort into them. It wasn't me. But I enjoyed that to the point to where I was almost broke. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to run my mom and dad broke. I'm going to run anything. I'm not going to have a life. So it's time to figure out how to become a crew chief or somebody and run a business. And that's what I did.
And you can still stay into sport.
Still stay into sport.
Right.
I'm going to actually drive coming up soon again. I talked to Hermie Sadler about practicing his modified.
Oh, nice.
So I want to get in that and just drive it a little bit. That'd so hopefully I can follow through with that. I don't want to race again, but I do want to go out and drive some stuff. Feel it, because it's so different now. Rack and pinions and all that stuff
and no
you guys
pressure.
deal with. Not zero. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. And it better be ready about 6 o'clock in the morning so I can be done by 10.
Before it gets hot.
Early. Before it gets hot. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I think first off, it's super cool to hear that because I'm a late model guy and same stuff. I mean, I came from the days of, people always had photographers and I'm like, I could barely afford to be at the track. I couldn't afford to get somebody to take photos. So it's definitely interesting. I didn't know how much you drove. So I think that's cool for the listeners. I didn't know you'd won like as a driver. So I think that makes it cool that you've won on both sides. But I think an interesting fact, I'm going to spit one off at you. 13 wins in 95 with Elliott Sadler. I mean, is that you've accomplished so much more what we're going to get into, but like looking at that, do you think that's one of your favorite seasons or most instrumental to keep you on the path that you went? I mean, 13 wins at that level is hard.
That was 13 at South Boston.
Right.
We won 20-some that year.
And that's a record at Sobo or something, I read like in a row, consecutive.
Yep. So we had, and it gives me cold chills thinking about it. We had 11 in a row.
That's insane.
And it was insane. We ran well, but we actually had 15 in a row. We got disqualified in one.
But I like that. It means you were trying.
Well, we got disqualified in one, and guess who won? Guess who won that race that we didn't win?
95. Man, who was racing?
Hermie Sadler in our backup car.
So you still won.
We still won, but it wasn't Elliott in that many rows. So What I say about that, I'll never forget it. I have a picture that we called that car. We had a name for that car, and I'm gonna leave it anonymous because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But that car was special. My dad built that car, and we had struggled in the late '94. We won 2 races at the end of '94, and come '95, we fired off, and we had struggled early. His dad, 1 or 2 races struggle. What I mean by struggle, finishing 3rd and 4th. His dad called us to the office, and he looked at us both, and he was screaming. It wasn't like his screaming it come across very aggressive. And he said, y'all are done. If y'all don't go win this weekend, you guys are done. I'm pulling the plug on all this. You can go back to Cluster Springs. You're going to come work at a dealership. Actually, Chris, you can work in a paint shop if you want to. I won't never forget this. And he said, we're done. We're just quitting. I'm not going to spend any more money on this. And we were busy building a new car, but we only had a small budget, believe it or not. Everybody thought he spent a lot of money, but we didn't. So I called my dad as soon as we left. I go to the shop, call my dad, and I said, hey, we're coming on Tuesday to practice. We're going to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I said, give us everything you can give us to try to go win this weekend. And my dad did, and he came over, and we worked, we ran, and we hit on something big. Hit on something huge that was so much better. So much better for a long run. It was so much better qualifying. It was just so much better. We went on to win all those races. And I got to give it credit to Herman Sadler for sitting us down and doing that to us, but also my dad and Elliot for pushing to making us better.
Well, and I love that because most of my listeners coming from my level of racing to where I am now are more from that world, so they know how hard it is to win at that level. And that's not even talking about being in the Cup Series or anything, but late model stock racing is tough, and in the 90s it was just as tough in a different way. Obviously things evolve and change, but my crew chief back then was Phil Warren.
Yeah, he beat us.
Did he?
He beat us for the national championship that year.
So Phil Warren and I don't even know if you know this about it, but Phil was my crew chief from 2015-ish full-time till I drove for Pulliam. So Phil, basically, I won all my Langley races with Phil, and honestly, I can say he made me a better person inside the car, outside. But Phil was a legend in the 80s and 90s, so I think it's cool to know that he raced with y'all around that time because I've heard his stories. So to hear it. But those are Langley stories, so you're in the whole different world. So I wanted to kind of go from that. So obviously Elliot is pretty instrumental in your career early on. And at that point, you're kind of knowing the direction you want to be a crew chief and all this. So when does that end? And then, your time with Elliot in the late model. So what happens next? I know a lot of stuff happens before you end up at Kaulig, but what's the next part of your career phase? When does the late model stuff end? I'm sure Elliot goes on to do something with a different team at that time. Where does that leave you?
Well, nobody really knows this story, but we wanted to go bush racing back then. And so Elliot, myself, okay. Yep. And so they gave us one car from Hermes Fleet. He was running full-time bush. They gave us one car. We brought it to Emporia. We we had no idea. They gave us 4 springs. I won't never forget it. It was an 800. We had an 800 and either a 700 or an 800 and 900 for the front. So we go test. All we could do was swap them.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything else. And we go to South Boston and we almost win a race. We finished 3rd. We finished 3rd at South Boston. And so Diamond Ridge seen that. We go to Hickory. We qualify 6th. We run in, top 5 and we didn't do good maintenance on it. The car started skipping, so we parked it or whatever. And that race, Bechtel or whoever it was that was driving the Diamond Ridge car said, okay, we're going to get Elliot Sadler, right? And I knew my days was over. That was the end of 95, beginning of 96.
So that's where y'all
it was
had
like
to go
they didn't want to have me.
That's right.
So I went on to try. That was when I say I went on to do a bunch of stuff that I thought I was smarter than everybody else, and it didn't work out, which – at the end of the day, it made me a better person. I always say God put me in a spot to make me a better person. At that time, it might not have been perfect for me, but he knew what my path was going to be.
And you probably learned
so many
lessons along the way.
So much. And then, I went cup racing for about 6 years, Petty's, Bill Davis. The late Bill Davis gave me my opportunity to be a crew chief in Bush with basically Scott Wimmer. We won some races, you know, and then Kenny Wallace come along, became really good friends with Kenny Wallace. And then it's the same thing. I thought, well, man, I'm pretty smart. Let me go try some other things. And it didn't work out. You know, some of those things didn't work out. So I kind of scratched and clawed for quite a bit of time to make it back to a good team. And this was a team. Kaulig Racing was a team. I could go through all this stuff. Robbie Benton was good to me. I spent 6 years with him, but really never had the financial stuff to be able to go win races. And as a crew chief, my first win that was on record, if you look at my record, my crew chiefing record doesn't look that good. Like
I looked at it. Like I said, I did my homework, but what I did like is how many different big names you've worked with.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know this. Just, you know, we've talked, and obviously I drive here, but like I'm glad I did that little bit of research just to know a little bit more about your background as far as like where you started. And that was kind of like you make it to Kaulig in 2016. Right? Is that when?
2015.
Okay,
and I can tell that story in a minute, which is a great story. But I worked with so many big names, and so when you look at Booty left, Bill Davis, and Scott Wimmer won races at the end of the year, and Booty was named crew chief. You know that, like, and then we only won one race with Scott Wimmer that my name was on it. We won. I don't know. It was. I can tell you, our first win is this 2019. I crew chief that car, but I actually put Alex Shantz as a crew chief on record. Like
so technically, you didn't get.
I
the
didn't
credit.
get the win. I didn't get the credit. So AJ's won 16 or 17 races for us.
Well, I got the stats here, which is getting ahead of me, but I have. Kaulig has 2 Cup victories, 27 O'Reillys. Got it right now. So it's O'Reillys, and 2 regular season championships.
Yep.
Pretty impressive to hear. Go back to early 2000s to now. I had one more question on before you got to Kaulig. Is it true? A little birdie told me, did you hire Cliff Daniels at one point? Because him and I are really good friends, and
yes,
I'd heard that rumor.
Yeah, so
but
Cliff, I did. I was a very big advocate of Cliff Daniels. We're at Robbie Benton's.
That's right.
And we didn't have the financial stuff to do it, but Scott Zipadelli was there with us, and I was like, we need this guy. We need an engineer. We need this guy. So, I did hire him, and we spent a lot of time together on planes. And Cliff, you know, I look at Cliff's life, and I'm very proud.
Oh, man.
Very proud to say he's a friend of mine, but I am pushing him to retire. Like, I will tell you, I'm pushing him big time to retire. Top of his game. He can do something else where he can raise his kids, because Cliff is an awesome dad.
He is,
He's an awesome person. It's nothing.
You said it right there. People don't know outside of racing the person.
No.
So he came into my life 2016, 17. He actually drove one of my late models.
Yep.
And
you know who helped him on that late model? We did.
You did?
Yeah, because they brought it to our shop. If you remember, they brought it to that was like 14.
Oh no, he drove somebody else's.
You know what he drove?
Bobby
Jim
Creech.
No, it was
that was Bobby Creech's stuff.
Lee Pulliam. Who did Lee Pulliam? Kiker. Wasn't it a Kiker car?
I'm not sure, but I do know he drove before mine.
Yep.
But you know, Cliff and I built that relationship through that, and I'll tell you, like, I've talked about it on a lot of shows, but Cliff is always in my corner as my biggest critic. Right? He like I win a race, he tells me I need to get out the car better, but I love it, right? Because he wants the best for me, just like everybody in this building surrounding me. So I just thought that was a fun little subject for my listeners that know me and Cliff's history, to know that you hired him, which wanted to confirm it was true. Somebody had told me. So I just thought that was awesome. But
so a lot of people in the sport I've hired. I probably am I'm probably the last one in the sport that has been here since 1989. Still today.
Yeah.
1989, like I said, I was 14 years old, and it's 25. I don't know how many years that is. Maybe the smart people that are listening could tell us how many years that is, but that's a long time. But Cliff was one of the best hires that I've ever been around, and can say that I had.
It's just cool to hear it. I mean, and so you end up with Matt, which is now my boss. I love it. He's awesome.
He's your owner. We don't look at us as bosses. Let's put it that way. He's your owner, and we work together.
I've had, in my limited time, so much fun. I laugh. I mean, you know, he walked by that one day and said, I felt like you've been here for years. And I'm like, it's only been 5 races. But
well, you learned how to drink with us at the Christmas party. So, like, you figured that out really quick.
Double. Double.
Fun story. I want to tell everybody
here we
this.
go.
I want to tell everybody this. So he shows up the week after the Christmas party, okay, guys? And he goes, I really didn't drink that much. And I said, Butterbean, at one time you had 2 drinks in your hand. No, I didn't. Somebody sent me a video of me singing on stage, and guess who was on the front row with 2 drinks in his hand?
Supporting
my
you.
man,
Supporting
right here.
you.
He was supporting our final song, which, I don't know if this part of the podcast makes it, but I hope it does. I see the boss man sitting on the other side of the fireplace.
It'll make it.
One thing about this guy is if you see him away from a camera or on a camera, this is this guy. So it was fun.
Well, I think I said I don't drink often.
Well, you were drinking a lot that night.
I felt like it was a year worth celebrating. A lot of
What
good
was that
things.
rule though? When the party started, everybody put your phones up and don't post
That's
about it.
right.
And everybody's done great.
That's
That was the whole thing.
So all right, you get hooked up with Matt. I'm sure that was a whole nother process here. And I think I'm going to kind of intertwine this with 2 questions. So tell me a little bit about how you convince Matt to go racing, because who wants to do that, right? Spin money. And second off, I kind of probably know the answer, but you've been into sports since '89. A lot of up and down, rock bottom, clawing your way out. You do this deal with Matt. I'm sure there's early struggles, but where do you had to see the light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, you don't win a race till 2019. So that mindset had to be tough, I assume.
Yeah. I mean, you think as a driver it's bad. Put yourself in my shoes. I want you to think about this. A lot of people don't think about this. You can go win at Daytona. You can.
That's right.
And your 14 truck. I mean, your 12 truck.
12.
God, see, there you go.
Cummins, Ram 1500.
Yeah, Ram 1500, Cummins, number 12. You can go win in that. I'm going to come take pictures with you, be all excited for you. And I got to walk right out of victory lane and go see whichever one was our last truck.
And have a different conversation.
So you talking about ups and downs, they're immediate. They're not like you get to enjoy that. You'll see wins for me, and you've seen this, and people get you're so excited for yourself. I'm not excited for me because Matt and myself are really good friends, and we have a lot of other businesses together other than just here. I'm excited for the 150 people that work here. I'm excited for you or whoever the driver is for showing that they can do it. But if you're that last race driver, you're the one I got to come and talk to and pump you up that can be you. So when you talk about peaks and valleys, it's crazy. How to keep Matt in the sport? That was a question that I want to answer.
I thought it was a good question.
So I met this guy because of Blake Cook. Blake had him as a sponsor. Weird way he was a sponsor, and so I meet him at the Longhorn. I think it's Longhorn or Texas Roadhouse right there in Salisbury, right off the interstate beside the Olive Garden. And I sit down, and I'm telling you, I'm in work clothes. I'm in like baggy pants because I'm 300 pounds. I'm in baggy pants and baggy shirt.
Not knowing that
I didn't know this guy was going to be a billionaire, right? Like I had no idea. And I sit down with him and I bring a yellow pad. Like I wasn't even prepared, dude. I didn't have any notes. I didn't have anything. I was ready to tell him what the budget was going to be. And I sit down and he says, I want to start a team. I said, why? He said, because it's badass. I said, okay, well, what do you need to know? He says, give me all the numbers. And I go through every bit of the numbers of a startup, what we can do, what we can't do. We got to go find somebody that we can align with. We can do all of this. And explain all that to him because he sells gutter protection. So 3 weeks go by and I didn't hear from him. So I said, Blake, what's the deal? Because I need to start making my decision whether I'm going to continuously race or I'm going to go do something different. Because I was at the point in my life that I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. Probably at heart, it was time for me. I'd spent a lot of time clawing. And he says he don't want to race. I'm like, okay, no problem. I see him at Kentucky, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, and I find him. I go walk right up to him.
Just because he's sponsoring.
Yeah, he's sponsoring
so he's
Blake.
Still there,
but he's still there.
Yeah.
He's still hanging out at the racetrack. He loves racing. I go right up to him and I said, man, I respect you to death. And I said, I appreciate it. I want to stay friends with you. You ever need anything from me, just let me know. And he was so nice. Blake goes out on the first lap, so they actually go up in the grandstands. Oh, maybe I was truck racing.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, what team were you on?
I was on NTS, which we were truck racing. So we
okay.
They raced the night before, the same day or whatever, and that's how I met him that day.
Awesome.
So so it goes on. I'm working on something else that I had started planning. My dad was going to sell his business. I knew it was coming, or either I had to go run my dad's business or whatever. So October comes around. I always say it's Halloween. And Matt calls me and he goes, I want to start a race team. I said, it's October. We have nothing. Like, we don't have people. We don't have anything. I said, I want to start a race team. He said, when can you start? I said, well, I got to go to Snowball Derby and crew chief a car at Snowball Derby. I was doing it for Spencer Davis. And I said, I just made a promise that I'd go do that. And he says, I don't know what the Snowball Derby is, but okay. So we raced the Snowball Derby, and I think the Snowball Derby is early December, right?
Yeah, first weekend.
That Monday we come back, I started working for Matt. We actually, first time I'd ever been to the Snowball Derby, the only time I'd been to Snowball Derby, we qualified 6th with Spencer. We was running 8th. Distributor broke. We didn't get to finish that whole race, which I'd have loved to see how we were, whatever. So anyway, came back, and we started a race team. We first 2 hires was Lenny Chandler and Justin Cox, which you still see here today, and they help run the business. And we came out and got aligned with RCR, and we went on our way. We bought all their backups, and we went to work. And man, it's so many stories I can tell you from when we started to when we made, but we made the playoffs that year. We almost made the Final Four that year. The first year. We made it all the way to Phoenix, almost made the Final Four. I'm glad we didn't because we went to Homestead, and I think we run 97th all day. It was not impressive that day. It was very bad. And we would have been in laughing stock of the Final Four. So it was good that we didn't, but that's the way we did it. I was just honest with him. I sat down with him. I've been honest with him since day one. We've spent a lot of his money to be able to get to where we're at, so and we've kept him in the sport.
I think that's impressive itself, kept him in the sport. I mean, you look at people that come in, not talking for Matt, but people that come in and spend a lot of money are normally in and out. They get too big too quick, and you
look at Furniture Row. Let's just talk a little bit about Furniture Row. Came in here, did it from Denver, Colorado. That's first off, I interviewed with them. They did it for a while. And he was like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
right when they were in their prime.
Dude, I think if I'm right, they won a championship that last year, right, guys? They won a championship that last year, and he said, I'm out. That's the same thing Matt could do.
He could.
He could say, I'm out. But you know what? We were at a deal at Stellantis Ram last week. He wanted to go up there and find out about their business.
I love it.
The trucks they have, the SRTs, all the stuff that's coming. What can we do to help sell more trucks?
The Ram TRX.
The Ram TRX, different things like that. Like, what can we do to help business? Him and myself and a guy by the name Tim Klepper flew up there. He's all in. They have a saying, and I don't know if I can say it on this podcast.
You can say what? This is Bean Nation, baby. You can say whatever.
In 2018, somebody looked at him and said, dude, you're balls deep in this NASCAR stuff, aren't you? And he's like, what does that mean? I said, that means
Google it. Google
it, but you're all the way up to your balls into this stuff. So yeah.
I love it. Well, he is balls deep if you want to get technical, but
Brandon's over there laughing.
Brandon likes it. He loves Bean Nation. So, will you think Bean Nation would say balls deep? Have you seen them? They'll get rowdy.
Does Bean Nation have balls?
Well, I hope some of them do. I think.
I was talking about you.
Oh yeah, you see, I'll put it up on the fence for you.
Yeah,
look at Bristol qualified.
I don't know what that means. Brandon, can we use that? He's gonna put his balls up on the fence.
You on the dash. I'm gonna put them on the dash.
On the dash is something we might not want to keep. That
Dover to be on the dash.
That's how you got hired, Dover.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. I got hired because of Dover. I was sitting in the Waffle House when Chris Rice texted me. And,
that is true.
And that's how I got hired.
Guess what? He didn't text me back. He had his agent do it.
Well,
so when y'all think he's all big and Billy badass, he had his agent do it. He didn't text me back.
Yeah, but I instantly went to them as soon as it happened. I said, hey, I want to get this rolling.
And if you ain't never met his agent, let me tell you how he is. Whew, he's a handful.
B-Mac, baby. One thing before we go into the Ram conversation, that'd be our ending convo, but I want to go over the culture here. That's one thing I've noticed, and you pride it, or you take pride in it. How did you look at that differently to shape the culture to where people want to come and work here? I know it's not in Mooresville, but people live up this way that work here, but still, everybody here's smiling. You say it all the time. You're smiling. I love it. And I just think it's a good attitude to have because I look at it, you never know what someone's going through, but I've been to a lot of places and I like the culture here. So you're doing something right and How did you get that ball rolling?
So thank you for asking. So when Matt has Make It a Great Day, and Matt and I sit down and he says, because it's always been Matt and Chris, Matt and Chris, right? Because I'm boots on the ground, I'm here. You want to come see somebody, Kaulig Racing, you come see Chris. Matt owns a team. Very respectful of that. So I was 300 pounds, right? And when we came up with a tagline, he's like, man, you're always smiling no matter what day what kind of day you're having. You should just tell people to smile. Like Matt helped me come up with that. And what I've learned is I say it to myself. Like I say the smiling to myself. Like yesterday was a Sunday. Like I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but that was a Sunday, and it was a tough day. I was working, going through a lot of stuff, working on our reality TV show and doing different things, working on budget, working on stuff for the trucks, working on just a bunch of stuff was under my plate on a Sunday, where you should be off. And I'm like in this my farmhouse by myself, just going through this stuff. And I post it, man. Every day is not going to be easy.
Nope.
But you still can smile through it. And I feel that way about what we do each and every day. And it's getting harder to have the 150 people here to stay on track, to be able to understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because, having Ram and having Dodge and having Stellantis behind you is what's so big and what is the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
It's the future.
It's the future. They're coming back. We have to keep those guys happy. You asked me before we come on, he goes, and you said, how's your day going? I said, my day is pretty tough every day.
Yeah.
Like, I think is exactly what I said. And, when I talk about what I'm going to tell you about, my fitness is my outlet, right? Like, and getting healthy was my outlet. And, I'm hopefully going to announce something pretty soon that I'm personally going to do for the people that need that, the people that need to be able to be pushed across the line, to be able to get out and do things that will make them smile. Because, man, they made a TV show about 600 pounds plus. I wouldn't watch it because I felt terrible about it. I thought it was not something that I wanted to watch, and I think about culture. What is our culture here? Our culture is we're one family. You wear Kaulig Racing on your shirt. Matt owns every single thing here. We don't have a loan.
Yeah.
We don't go borrow money. He owns every bit of it. It's not a bank. It's Matt's stuff. Every truck up there is painted one color. It's not a Brennan truck. It's not a Daniel Dye truck. It's not a Justin Haley truck. It's not a Race for the Seat truck. It's not a guy for the free agent truck. It's all one truck, So our thing is, and you'll see this with this TV show coming out, we want all trucks to be the same. Let the drivers and crew chiefs and pit crews make a difference inside our house, right?
Yeah.
But make us proud. Push each other together. Gain all the people that you can gain to be on your team and make them understand that I have their back. No matter how bad a day you're having or what you say, I got your back. Let me be the problem. And when I stand up in front of people and I say that, I truly mean that. I'm not going to call Ohio. I'm not going to call Stellantis and say, man, you ought to see what Butterbean did. I'm not going to do that. It's my fault when we run bad. It's my fault when we do bad. It's your deal when you do good. That's the way I've always been and I always will be. And that's a culture I'm going to run through this shop until I die. And when I die, I hope they carry that legacy on.
No, I think it's awesome. I definitely, that's why I brought it up. Me being the new guy here, just seeing it when I walk around and see the guys in the shop. I try to come up here a couple times a week just to let them know I care, for one, because I don't ever want to be that guy that doesn't care about the guys that are building these things. So,
well, some drivers can't stand this culture. No disrespect to them. Zero. It's just the way it is. It's just, some people want their 5 trucks or their 5 cars. Some people can't stand that you're going to drive the same truck that Daniel Dye did.
I'm just happy I'm driving.
That's right. And the people that have created that, AJ Allmendinger, Justin Haley helped us do that. Blake Cook, those guys helped us do that. Some of them didn't make it in it, but I can promise you every driver that has not made it here is still friends with me. I had a driver text me on Sunday. And literally, I could read it and show it to you, and it'd blow your mind because you would never pick that he would ever text me back because you would think he hates me. And he said, just finished my workout, and I was thinking about you. Thank you for always pushing me. And literally, that is what I want from race car drivers. I've gotten Alex Bowman to the Cup side, Justin Haley. We changed AJ's life. You think about all the drivers that came through here, Ross Chastain right here. You think about that, and that's what matters to me. And to be able to give a late model guy a chance, and I hope we get to how you got hired here. That is what matters to me.
Yeah, so I didn't know how our time budget was going to go, but I think we got a little bit of time, so we can go back to how I got here. I will add that in before. So I was kind of going to go into the Ram situation and what was the deciding factor for you to want to go that route. How did it come about? We can kind of lead that into how I got hired or why y'all hired me, but I guess we just take it from there. First off, before you even, contact me, I've came down here and met with you one time when I was still late model racing and kind of got some advice. Didn't think 2 years later I
was honest with you, right?
No, yeah, and I love it. Definitely honest. So myself and John Staten, who's been a big investor in my racing, and it pretty much adopted me, his whole family. So the whole Staten family, put a lot of effort in my Cars Tour career. Obviously my parents did all they could, and sponsors along the way to get me to that level, but we were just a local team, maybe travel a little bit. And the Statens really took me from local to being able to drive for Pulliam, which is around the time I came in and met with you. And yeah, I mean, you were honest, and it's something we needed to hear because there's so many people trying to tell you what to do or how to do it, but somebody that's actually in the sport that knows it, that's been in both sides of it, especially after this show, like learning what I've learned now is super cool. And it just makes what you said to me even more valuable because it was true. So if you want to take over on that,
Yeah.
I mean, we came and met with you, and you laid it out there. I mean,
yeah, and this story is actually true. This is a true story. So I knew you.
Yeah.
I thought your numbers on your car were horrible.
Which I had a video game sponsor. So
Yeah, I thought, my gosh, you can't see this thing once it gets up to 25 mile an hour. But you had your own brand, which I liked. I wasn't like, everybody has opinions. And my opinion was like, why in the world does he have this? I didn't know why. Like, you know what I mean? But I watched you and I seen how well you did and had no idea your background, anything like that. So when Dale Jr. actually reached out to me and asked me would I meet with you, and I said, heck yeah, he's a late model guy. Just tell him to be here, such and such. I had no idea the guys you were going to bring. You sit in here. You actually sit in the living room.
I know.
That's what I call a little place over in my office. And when you were asking me questions, I truly would love to have you here. But we were in a situation where you had to have money. You had to have money to come with it, was where the sport's at today.
That's right.
And so I was just honest with you. I said, the way you're going to make it, you got to find somebody. I had no idea the guy with you was your investor. You knew this too. And I was like, you got to have an investor. Like, you can make it if you ever get across the hump. And the hump is investing. You can do it so many different ways. And I told you so many ways you could do it. And I said, hopefully somebody, a Gibbs or us or somebody can find a sponsor to pick you up. But until then, you got to go out and show people that you at least going to have a fan base and that you can get it done. And that's what you guys did. You went and run a truck race at North Wilkesboro. I will never forget it. And I watched you, and they were going crazy. The grandstand's going crazy. And you did a great job in that race. And then you went on to do another truck race and wasn't so good, but
learning experience.
Right. You had to try. If you think about it, you had to get on a plane. You had to do things that was outside your comfort zone, and you had to go race, and you had never really been there. You hadn't seen it. You hadn't
It's the little things. Like, I could go into a whole nother story. I mean, just getting off the plane, the rental car, the stuff I messed up.
Going to that hotel. Didn't bring the right underwear because you like your favorite underwear.
Yeah.
I mean, all those little things. And, you didn't do as great, but you didn't do bad. In your mind, you would have liked to have been better, right? But you didn't do bad because it made all of us in the Cup garage talk. And
didn't
so
wreck
then,
it. Didn't wreck it.
Didn't do anything like that. And I think you ran one more race after that.
Which didn't go that well, but didn't wreck it.
It didn't go that well. And so then you go, hey, I'm going to go run ARCA races. And I think I reached out to Brandon. Maybe I didn't. We were in some other things. Brandon's had the bad Chris Rice in his life before too, and he's had the good one.
I'm waiting for the laugh over there.
Yeah, so he's had both of them, but I think he learned from it. And so when you go to Daytona, I'm watching the race because I was interested in your career. And I'm like, if this kid wins Daytona, it could actually ruin his career. Like literally, that's what was going through my mind. Like, because they call it the Daytona curse, right? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, if this kid wins this race, because all you did was rode around all day.
Oh, that's
somebody told you just ride around all day, let them make the mistake. You stayed right on the bottom. Your car was good enough to get up there. Had a really good car, and you won a race. You did everything you needed to do to win the race. You didn't do anything special, and you won the race. And I'm like, oh my! I was happy for you, and I think I even text you, congrats. Like, I always text a day later.
It's Daytona,
right? I mean, I don't text that time. I text a day later, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I hope and pray he doesn't get the Daytona curse. So I'm gonna fast forward to your racing, and man, you're winning. You're running good. You're doing this. You're doing that. And we'll get to why I did this. So I'm going to eat at my favorite place at Dover during the ARCA race. And, like, I'm just getting away. I'm taking my motorhome driver, Neil Throckmorton, because I got to put him in here, which is one of your biggest fans. And we're walking across the walkway. And I was like, where's Butterbean running at? And I forgot your car number, right? And like, and shame on me, but I forgot your car number. And here you come by, and Neil goes, that's Butterbean. I'm okay. I look at the scoreboard because they still have the pylon.
Yeah.
There. Look at the scoreboard, and you're leading. I'm like, cool. So you come back by, and I'm like, they don't like you standing up there. So they started screaming at me, but I wouldn't move. And I'm like, well, who's running second? Because at the time, nobody was around you. And it was the Gibbs car. I'm like, okay, cool. So I look, and you come by, and I'm looking for the Gibbs car, and I'm like, it's like right in front of you. I'm like, how many laps in? 32 laps into the race. I'm like, oh my gosh. I immediately walk across the thing, sit down in my rental car, and text you while you're racing. And I said, hey, we need you to race for us. No, I said, we need to talk.
We need to talk. And I'm like, so, which not to cut you off, but I win the race, and that was a part of my career where I'm like, man, I'm doing all I can. I'm winning at this, like,
nobody's talking to you,
right? Though. But and I'm like, yes, eventually, hopefully, a door is going to open here where some conversations start. And I would say that was really like the start of it all. But when you texted me, I had no idea. Which obviously, I get to the Waffle House with my guys, because I was going back to race the Hampton Heat the next day. Yep. So I've got Miles at the Waffle House, and I finally get on my phone. It's going crazy, and I see that you had texted me, and I remember Brandon wasn't there, but Corey was with me, and I was like, holy crap, like, Chris Rice just texted me, we need to talk. And I'm like, what's it about? Like, I had no idea about the Ram stuff, right? Like, I'm just thinking,
nobody did. They thought somebody else was getting it.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, like, well, maybe it's about possible part-time Xfinity. Like, you don't ever know, right? But my mind's just like, I don't know. I'm like, well, let's get it rolling. So that was where he was with me, and I'm like, hey, like, let Brandon know.
I just think that's a funny story.
No, it is.
That you had to have your ball holder.
Bro, that's a good
text me.
Thanks, Brandon. They need some fluffing. No, so that was just a super cool moment for me. Just full circle, meeting with you, and then.
Well, you know what we went through, and we're not going to dive into that too deep, but as we watched you and we talked about this, it was like we had to make a decision sooner than later. And I will say that out of leap of faith, you didn't go on and do something which we thought, now looking back on it, would have been crazy for you to do, because what you got versus what you were going to have to do. That you decided, come do it. Because you know how tough it's going to be. You've watched this go down. Like, we didn't have fenders, guys, for our cars or trucks, for our Ram trucks until December 19th.
Do not lean on.
Don't lean on the fenders, please, because we don't have many of them. And it's like, you've watched this go down. So
I think what intrigues me about that, though, is from my background, it took me a while to get to the top of my late model game, where I felt like I was one of the guys that can win every week driving my own car. And then I went to Lee's and did it there. But being a part of building it, having a manufacturer behind me, having a family behind me, like, it's like.
But what I was going to tell you from that, you showing that you believed in us was able to let you drive that 11 car for the last, 6 races, right, Brandon? 6 races, which you made the most money you've probably ever made in your life last year. Like, you know what I mean? So you having the faith in us allowed me and us, Matt, to be able to give you that opportunity to go race those races. You know, go
cool.
run. I think you ended at Phoenix, not to your liking, but that's where you ended. We never run good there. Martinsville, you ran great.
Good. Kansas,
you ran great. You go all these places and you did a really good job. But the reason you got that is because you believed in us. We show that same thing when it comes back. I love it. And so, but the Dover thing was what put the icing on the cake when I was like, this kid ain't no way he's ever been here. Like
it was my first time.
Yeah, it was like and this is the most intimidating place there is, and you showed that you could do it. So it's gonna be intimidating.
Oh yeah, like I said, we'll go into this last subject here because I know you got a busy day and don't want to hold everybody up.
I'll just give you an example of how it goes.
But obviously this is a huge deal with Ram and everybody involved. Y'all on Kaulig's end, on Ram's end. It's and now Cummins being on my truck, that's super cool. But what is the deciding factor for Chris Rice and Matt to go with Ram and have that as your OEM? It's super cool for me to be a part of it, and we've already talked about how excited I am to have an OEM behind me that believes in me. But what is it for y'all to make that step?
Well, we knew it was going to be tough,
yeah.
Right? We knew it was going to be tough, and a lot of people don't know this, so you're going to be the first podcast that I give you where it started. Right at 3 years ago, it started. So Matt and I met, and we had a executive talk about how many more years do you want to spend money, and we made a full go at trying to show that we were going to be a real race team, and if it didn't work, it didn't work. So about 3 years ago, I reached out to a guy by the name of Randy Dye. And when I reached out to Randy Dye, it was truly his son drives, right? But I wanted to talk to Randy Dye because I knew Randy Dye for 13 years.
Yep.
He had put his heart and soul inside of trying to get Dodge back, trying to get Ram back, doing anything he could do to get them back in his sport, make the sport better. Became really good friends with Randy. Forget that his son's driving for us because you know how hard I am on Daniel.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hard on Daniel.
Diesel.
I'm harder on him than I am anybody else. And so when I say I reached out to him 3.5 years ago or 3 years ago, and throughout that winter, spent a lot of time with Randy. And as we ran Daniel for 10 races, I spent time with Randy. Saying, hey, man, if they ever come back, we're their guy. If they ever come back, get me in the door. If they ever come back, give us a chance. If they ever come back, come on.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, so I won't never forget the time he walked up to me and he says, I think they want to start a conversation with somebody. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I said, can we be in that conversation? He's like, well, I can throw your name in a hat, but I can't make them change their mind or whatever. I can tell them about you. And I went home that night. I went to my motorhome that night because we were at a racetrack. And all I did was I was like, hey, if we can get a chance, if we can get in the door, if I can get in front of them, I'll sell ourselves. If we can just, and that's all I was saying. I was just, I was like,
just need a chance.
Just give us a chance. As a race car driver, just give us a chance. Give us one shot. 2 weeks later, he says, your name's in a conversation and they want to have a meeting. 4 months later, we finally got to have a meeting. And by then, we had hired Ty Norris. So now we had a chief business officer that it looked like, okay, now we're real, right? So we were able to have a conversation before Ty came along. And then afterwards, we were able to finally get in the door and be able to have a bigger conversation with them. And we got to sit down with them. And when we got to sit down with them, like I said, and like I promised to everybody that was around me that knew what I was working on or we were working on, we sold ourselves. And when I walked away from that meeting in March, I said, if we don't get it, it's not meant to be. We'll run our cup cars until Matt's tired of it, and we'll be done with it. And it took from March until we announced it, fall Daytona to be able to get it done. We spent many times, because you can't go places now. You Zoom, and we spent Zoom, and you met with, it's so many things when you're dealing with OEM, about making sure that you get it all right, and being able to get in the door, get our foot in the door and get it signed and be able to announce it, be able to hire you. And you kind of know what we went through.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but it's all worth it, right? So that 3 years ago was the start of it. That 3 years ago, and nobody knows that
That's what
story.
I say. I don't think people understand the process. It wasn't like, oh, middle of summer, hey, we're going to do this. So I just thought that'd be very interesting for the listeners.
And it started out as 3 trucks. Let's be very serious.
Oh, yeah.
Started out as 3 trucks, and then
That's
it said,
probably the most
let's
asked
do
question.
5.
Why 5? It's all the time. But
Tim Kaniskas and Matt Kaulig are a lot alike, and they don't take no for an answer.
that's right. Well, I think that's going to help people understand the Ram deal a little bit and how it became reality. So I'm going to end this with
Reality. They want to do a reality TV show.
There you go. So I threw that in there.
Yeah, that was really good. But that reality TV show, I will say, I want to tell a little bit of sideways of this so everybody knows. We had Butterbean test all of the cars after the first week. And you're going to watch these episodes and you're going to understand. And he couldn't test it, or you would have tested it the first week. You were out of town.
I was out at SEMA and all that.
So he did every single test for us and made sure every single car and every single legend car was identical. Like he did road courses, he did ovals, he did so many different things. And some of this stuff that you're going to see in this reality TV show was because I called him at night and said, what do you think? And he's like, X, Y, or Z. So I appreciate him doing that. You're actually going to make this TV show really good. And you know yourself that it was as legit as we could make it.
I appreciate you throwing that in there. I hadn't really told many people, but I'll leave it as, if the racing don't work out, which it's going to work out, I had a backup job. I'm a test driver.
You're a test driver for people.
So, but I kind of want to end this with 3 quick questions, which I think you'll like this next one. Starting from scratch again, you did it in 2015, 2016 here. Does this remind you of that in a way, but with light at the end of the tunnel, but now you have the experience of building something? Like, does that sound familiar?
Yeah, so yes, we did it in 2016, but we also did it again in 2022.
Yeah.
Because we built a cup team. So yes, but all the mistakes we've made,
That's right.
we're minimizing them. We're hiring enough people. We got from the fab shop and different things like that. We're making sure that we get enough people, and we're rocking as hard as we can to get good people around us. This does feel like that. I lay up at night. You want to talk to me? I'm up at 3:00 in the morning. I sent an email at 3:16 this morning. So I'm at the gym this morning at 4:45.
Grinding.
Yes, I'm telling you, and Brandon can tell you because we're working on something big with Clear 28 that we'll put out soon. But it is so hard to put all the puzzle pieces in the correct places that you don't want to screw it up. So you hold on to the puzzle piece until it's the right time to stick it down.
Yeah. No, I love it because people don't understand that you're up all hours of the night, like how much is on this deal. So next question, goals for the next 10 years. Where do you want to see Kaulig Racing in 10 years? What can you go into?
I can't go into much, but I can tell you this. We want Kaulig Racing to be a staple of NASCAR. We want them to be, one of the teams everybody wants to come to. The biggest thing we don't have is a lot of turnover, and we have more turnover this year than we've ever had, and I hate this. I want to go see the top side. I want us to be the top side. We were in Xfinity, and we can get there in Cup, and we want to be there in Truck. So in 10 years, I want to look back and say, man, that championship that Butterbean won in the trucks, or that championship that we won in Cup, those races we won, we made all the right decisions to make our program better. And, it is such a slow process in NASCAR because you got to make sure you pick the correct drivers. If you asked yourself right now, you'd probably want to be out of the Chili Bowl because you feel like somebody's getting an advantage on you. I feel the same way about race teams. We don't have the sim quite yet. So are they getting ahead of us, But also then I look and go, we've never been to the wind tunnel as much as we've been to the wind tunnel. So all of those little things in 10 years, I'm going to look back on and say we made the right decision. Where do I want to be as Kaulig Racing? I want to make sure that we get Matt Kaulig a bunch of trophies. I want to make sure we get you a bunch of trophies, and all of these listeners go, he made the right decision. That's where I want to be in 10 years.
I love it. I love it. And final question. So I like to end this podcast with something I've said really the last 5 years of my career, and it's been instrumental, I think, looking back at all 28 years of my life and 21 of my racing years. I always say, trust the process. Be saving tires, running dead last. Trust the process, because we're gonna come back with tires and win the race. We've done it a million times, or there's so many scenarios. But what is Chris Rice's trust the process moment in your career? I want you. You might have an answer. You might have to think about it, but there's got to be a moment there where it's hitting the fan, and you're like, I had to trust the process because it was gonna work out. What would if you had to pick one?
The scratching and clawing that I did.
Yep.
Every bit of that was trust the process, because there's bigger things coming. I got to train you up.
Yep.
To learn how to run a race team and make all the bad decisions, so when you get over here, you can win those trophies. Do not right now think that you're going to win a race today. Trust the process that we're working towards that goal. We know how to win races,
That's right.
Like, you've never won races on this side of the fence. And when I tell younger drivers that, it actually pisses them off. But that's the truth. I was that guy. I was the guy that didn't want to trust the process. You might not believe in, why does all 5 trucks have to go the same? Trust the process. Telling you right now, trust the process. And when I did that, scratching and clawing, that taught me that a process, if you put a process in place and you live and die by it, you'll win those things. And if you win those, guess what happens? You win championships, and you're able to make more money.
That's awesome. Awesome answer. So I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thanks for hiring me and bringing me in like family, because it's been awesome. And I'm excited to accomplish great things together, not with just you, but everybody in this building. It's gonna be fun. So thanks again for coming on here. It means a lot.
Thanks for having me. And, always ends things with this. You have no idea what's going on in somebody's life. So if you take a minute to make people smile at somebody. It's good for you.
Smile, drink a Celsius.